y'all, and welcome back to my channel if you're returning, and welcome to my channel if you're new here. My name is Charity, and this is a podcast all about knitting and any other crafty goodness that I get into. I live in a small town in North Carolina with my amazing, wonderful husband and my two children, Aiden and Aubrey. Aiden wanted to make sure that I said their names in this video. This is episode 2 of the Knit Girl Magic podcast. We do have a name this time, Knit Girl Magic, because I truly believe that what we can do with our needles and our yarn is magic and it's art. So I'm so excited that I get to share in my journey with you on this channel. And last episode, which was my first one, it was a hot mess. But it was a good way for me to just jump in there, get my feet wet, and see if this is something that I could do and that I can enjoy. And I really did enjoy it. And if you were here and you watched that episode and then you came back, thank you so much for taking a chance on me. And I appreciate that you're here with me. So if you would, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, because that's going to really help me grow this YouTube channel and expand this community. Let's see. Stick around, if you would, to the end of this video, because Aiden would like to make an appearance. He is going to come and do a segment with me, and he's really excited about that. So if you would, just stick around to the end and watch the fun that we have together. Let's see. I am hoping that this episode will be better. I've done my research, y'all. I've been to YouTube University. I've been studying my favorite podcasters, and I'll list some of them below. I'm just trying to figure out how in the world to do this thing. And so we got better lighting, we have a microphone. Hopefully this time around will be better, and then the more that I do this, the more comfortable I'll get and the better it'll be. So before we get into the knitting, please grab something to crochet on, something to knit on, or whatever craft you enjoy doing, something good to drink, and let's get into it. So I want to start with finished objects. And the one that I want to show first is one that you saw last time if you were here. But I want to show it because look at the cute little pom-pom that I added. Isn't it adorable? So this is a hat. It's called the Classic Ribbed Hat from Purl, Soho. And I made this for Aubrey to wear this winter. And I really wanted to show it because I took a picture of her in it, y'all, and it is so adorable. So if you'll just take a look at my sweet little baby, look at those cheeks. Oh my goodness. And I won't spend too much time on this, but I just wanted to show you this cute little hat and this little pom-pom. And this is the Classic Ribbed Beanie by Purl Soho. It is a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's really, really good. And I am making another hat, and I'll get into the details of those in a moment, or of that in a moment. So that's my first finished object. And then the next finished object is actually a scarf. I have never finished a scarf. I've started them, I've started cows, but for some reason I've never finished one. This one I decided to finish because I needed it when my son was playing soccer. His team did awesome this year, and they actually went to the championship and they won, and which means it was a really long season, and it got extremely, extremely cold. And I knew that I had this scarf on the needles from when I first started learning to knit, and I wanted to finish it because it's mohair and wool. Very, very warm. And so the yarn that I used for this, see where I put it. Oh, I happen to have another skein here. This yarn was gifted to me by my beautiful, thoughtful aunt, Darlene. And this is Lamb's Pride yarn. It's a very, very bulky weight yarn. It's called Jaded Dreams. That's the colorway. And it's 85% wool and 15% mohair. And the reason I wanted to use this for, or I wanted to finish this scarf, was so that I could be very, very warm when I went to Aiden's soccer game. And it was extremely, extremely warm. It is about almost 70 inches long. That's about how long I wanted it to be. And I could have made it longer, obviously. I still have more yarn. But I was just eager to put it around my neck for the game. And this scarf kind of tells the story of my knitting journey, because I think I started this scarf like maybe a couple of months into knitting, and I was really interested in learning about all different stitch types. But I was definitely still inexperienced, and you can tell. And that's kind of why I really wanted to finish this, because it tells a story. So I started with, well, I cast it on, I think it was 28 stitches for this. And then I started with my garter edge because I didn't want it to curl. And the first part of it was stockinette. And this kind of tells about my personality too. And then I got bored. And I was like, cables are really cool. I want to learn how to do cables. So I started doing some cables. But then I realized that they weren't popping. Like when you do cables, you really need to surround them with not stockinette stitch, but rows of garter stitch. So they're not popping. And I was like, no need to continue that. Let me try basket weave. So this is basket weave, which was really fun. I think it was like a 12-row repeat. But I had to look at the pattern the entire time. So I got tired of that. And then I went back to just stockinette. And that was a couple of weeks ago. And I finished with stockinette so that I could wear it to my son's game. So I feel like that tells a story, and I just really love this color. This color is so beautiful. To me, it looks like teal, and the camera does not do it justice. It is so beautiful. So thank you, Aunt Darlene, for gifting me with this yarn and helping me to finish my first scarf. All right. So my net, I think that's my last finished object. Oh no, it's not. I have one more finished object. So it is Christmas time, as I mentioned before. And I think I did. It's December 3rd. We're into Christmas. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited about Vlogmas and watching everyone's videos. I'll link some of my favorite Vlogmas people down below. Knitting Annihilator. Oh my gosh, you're so sweet and you're so funny. I'm so glad that we've connected, and I can't wait to watch your Vlogmas videos every day. This is a stocking that I made for my sweet little Aubrey. I made 3 of these, probably like this scarf, a couple of months into my knitting journey. This pattern is a free pattern by Nourish and Nestle, and it's on their website, nourishandnestle.com. And it's made with chunky yarn. And I think she actually used Barocco yarn, which I didn't know of at the time. And it's about 22 stitches. I used size 17 needles, although the pattern called for 19. Size 19, I just used what I had on hand. And then the yarn that I used was actually from Lion Brand, and it was their hometown collection. And this is 100% acrylic yarn, which was perfect for this project because it wasn't, I knew that, it wasn't going to be on our skin or anything. I find acrylic can be quite uncomfortable. At least my son told me that when I made him a hat, but it's super soft. This is a really beautiful yarn. It's soft. Look at the sheen of it. And this pattern is a really, really easy pattern. If you're a beginner, it might be a little bit challenging working the heel and the toe. So the lady from Nourish and Nestle actually created some video tutorials to go with it. And I do remember watching those back then when I made the first 3. I didn't need to watch those for this one, but the pattern, I did reference the pattern because I couldn't remember what I did. So this was really, really fun to knit. You could knit this in a day. Of course, I've got so many things going on right now. It took me about a week, but you could definitely knit this in a day. And it's just beautiful. Shout out to Lion Brand. Gorgeous. And my sister is very, very crafty. She created little tags for each of us. So I'm just waiting on her to make Aubrey a tag so that we can hang them. In fact, I am hanging them. I tucked everyone else's tag in so that we could wait for Aubrey to get hers. But again, this is the Chunky Christmas Stocking by Nourish and Nestle. And that is my 3rd finished object. Everything else that I have, y'all, are whips. And I got a lot of them. I don't know what's gotten into me, but for some reason, I can't just work on one thing. I have to work on many things. And I have different times of the day that I'll work on each thing. These socks, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. They're not finished. And I'm not going to talk about these very much because I talked about them pretty extensively in the last one. But I did make progress. I think the last time I shared this sock, it was about right here. And now we're on to the foot. I've done the heel, and now we're doing the foot. This is no pattern here. It's just a simple ribbed sock. I did 2x2 rib for the cuff, 3x1 rib for the leg, and I'll continue the 3x1 rib for the top of the foot. I am using magic loop to knit these socks. And I'm almost done. The other one is finished. Just have to finish this one. And the yarn that I'm using for this is Drops Flora, held together with Drops Kid Silk mohair. All right, but into the whips that I really want to talk about. The first one I'll talk about is my Sophie shawl. I have jumped on the bandwagon and I am knitting the Sophie shawl. And if you watch podcasts like I do, you'll notice that everyone and their mama is making the Sophie shawl or the Sophie scarf. And I'm not one that usually jumps on the bandwagon, but for this, I felt like I just had to because I've been in the market for a shawl. You know, I made my scarf. I love it, but it's very bulky. So I wanted something that would be a little bit more drapey, but still keep my neck warm. And I didn't want it to be huge. Like, I ain't got time to make a huge, elaborate shawl. But this one, and the reason everyone is knitting it is because it's just so simple and easy and mindless. But this one is still pretty large. So this is the Sophie shawl by Petite Knit. I am knitting the size large, and it's just a beautiful, mindless, wonderful pattern. The yarn that I'm using for this is from Wonderland Yarns. Let me make sure I have the right ball band. Is it this one? It's this one. So it's from Wonderland Yarns. It's on their Mad Hatter base. And it is, let's see, 100% superwash merino. And the yarn weight that I decided to go with is sport weight. And the reason I wanted to do sport weight instead of worsted weight that it called for in the pattern was because when I went to my local yarn store to get the yarn, the lady who was helping me was wearing one, and she said that she used sport weight, and it was so very drapey around her neck. I thought it just flowed so well, and so I decided to go with the sport weight. I am using size 6 ChowGoo needles for this, and I think they're about 24 inches, so they're just this long. But this is really, really fun to knit. It's just garter stitch. There is a little I-cord, see if I can show that, a little I-cord edge on each end that is built into the pattern. And this is my first time working an I-cord edge, and I have really enjoyed that. It's so simple. I swear a lot of things that I see people doing, see people knitting, it seems like it's going to be so complicated. And then when I do it, it's like, oh, that's all that was? But I will say I felt so silly, because I guess since I've been knitting, I mainly knit stockinette, I mainly knit socks, I mainly knit things in the round, and I really hadn't done much garter stitch. And so when it came time for me to know when to increase for this, because you just increase on one side of it, I was like, how many stitches, how many rows have I done? I legit did not know how to count my rows and garter stitch. So I had to go to YouTube and watch a video on how to do that. And so now I know how to count rows and garter stitch. So this is my Sophie shawl by Petite Knit. I hope to have this finished sometime in December so that I can still wear it this winter. But I'm really, really enjoying it. It's very addicting. Like, I can't stop when I get started on it, which is why I haven't finished other things. But she's brilliant. Love Petite Knit. So that is my first or second work in progress. And my next work in progress is actually a hat. And sorry about the squeaking of my chair, y'all. I gotta get a better chair. But this is another hat. It is just like the one that I showed you that I knit for Aubrey. This is another classic ribbed hat from Purl, Soho. And this one is actually for a student of mine. Actually, he's not a student of mine. He's a student at the school where I work. But I did used to teach him when he was younger. But he is so funny. So I think I mentioned in the last podcast that in the morning I like to knit when the kids are coming into school. My station is in the cafeteria, and they come in and they get their breakfast, and then they take their breakfast with them to their class. And so because I'm standing there for a good 35-40 minutes, I need something to do with my hands. I think that's just how us knitters are. It brings us comfort. So I'm always knitting in the morning, and the kids have really taken an interest in what I'm knitting. They're always asking me what I'm working on. And so this particular student said, Miss Teacher, I won't give my last name yet, but Miss Teacher, if you give me a 2-digit multiplication problem, and if I get it right, will you make me a hat? And I said, okay, sure. I'll make you a hat if you get this multiplication problem right. So I gave him a really hard multiplication problem, because I'm sorry, y'all, but I can be a very selfish knitter. I've just got so many things that I'm working on, and I'm like, am I really going to have time to make him a hat? So I gave him a really hard multiplication problem. He did not get it right that day, but every day he came back to me, Miss Teacher, can you give me another problem? So I gave him a problem every day. He's way smarter than me. I don't remember how to do 2-digit multiplication. So I would give him the problem. He would work on it. I would put it in my phone to figure out what the answer was, and he would always be like 10 off from the answer. This went on for about 3 to 4 weeks. Finally, I gave him a problem, and he got it right. So hence my second hat from Purl Soho. This is for him. So I am knitting the size adult large in this one. And the reason I'm going with the adult large is because when I knit this hat for Aubrey, it was small. Like, it was really small. And I thought it was just me, like, because I am a tight knitter, and I know that. So I thought it was just me. But then I looked at some of the comments on Ravelry, and there were other people who said that the sizes that she went with in the pattern, or that whoever Purl, the makers behind, the designers behind Purl Soho are, that the sizes that they use to determine how many stitches to use for the hat were smaller than average, and they had gone to the CDC and done their research. So the sizes that they use in that pattern are actually smaller than typical head sizes. So I'm like, Aubrey's head ain't that big. The hat is small because that's how the pattern was designed. So for this hat, I decided that instead of making the kid's size, I mean, he's like a 4th or 5th grader, one of those, I went with the adult size. And then I also decided to use bigger needles than the ones in the pattern. So the pattern calls for you to use size 3 needles, and I'm using size 5. And I've tried it on him, and it actually fits really well. So I'm hoping that that does work out for him. And I am doing these on double pointed needles that I just picked up from like Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I really love these double pointed needles. I think they're called Tacoma or something like that. But they're really fun to work with. I used to only knit in the round on small circumferences with double pointed needles because I wasn't really into magic loop, but now I do most things on magic loop. But if I need a needle size, I can always go back to double pointed needles. And the yarn that I'm using for this hat, and I really hope that I said what it is. It's the Classic Ribbed Beanie by Purl Soho. But I went to the local yarn store and they suggested Barocco for me again. And I actually looked at it before I talked to them and had picked this out because I wanted something that would be durable, you know, gifting this to a student. And I wanted it to be comfortable also. So this is their Comfort DK from Barocco. And this is their, I said DK. And it's made out of 50% super fine nylon and 50% super fine acrylic. And it's really, really soft. Really, really soft. And the color is some number 2751, but it's just red. He told me that that was his favorite color, so that's what I decided to knit it in. And this is a 1x1 rib, which I'm actually becoming really comfortable with doing. And you do that the whole time until you get to the decreases. Well, when you do the decreases, you're still doing 1x1 rib, but it's super easy. And I'm really enjoying that. Hopefully I'll be done with that soon and he can have it before we go on our Christmas vacation. All right, and the last thing that I wanted to share is my Clove sweater. I wanted you to see the progress that I'm making on that. So I am making the Clove sweater by Rachel Kurihara. I have a really hard time saying her name for some reason, but it's by Rachel Kurihara, and it's a pattern that I found on Ravelry. The yarn that I'm using for that is Barocco Renew, and it is a recycled and sustainable yarn made of 35% viscose, 30% wool, 30% nylon, and 30% cashmere. It feels really, really soft, and I like it. I'm really enjoying how it feels on my needles. And so I am knitting the size small for this sweater. When I did my measurements, that seemed what was appropriate for me. But I did get a little nervous because, as I've mentioned before, I am an extremely, extremely tight knitter. I don't know if it's like I'm working off stress or something. I don't know. So initially when I measured my gauge for this, I knew that my gauge was tighter than what the pattern called for, but for whatever reason, I'm reluctant to go up a needle size. I don't know. So I stuck with the needle size. And I believe it's a size 6 in the pattern. Yeah. So this is what it's looking like so far. I have done, so you start at the top with the back panel, you knit the shoulders and then the front panel, and then you join in the round and work the body, and then you do this beautiful, beautiful twisted rib at the bottom. It was my first time doing twisted rib, and I actually really enjoyed it in the beginning. I was like, this is cool, this is easy. I love the look of it. It looks way better than 1x1 rib. But then my hands started hurting. My hands really started hurting just because of the way you have to go into the knit stitch, twisted, and into the purl stitch. So I was extremely excited to be done with the ribbing. And you knit it separately. It's a split hem. So I think I did the front ribbing first, and then I went to the back. And by the time I got to the back ribbing, my hands were hurting and I just needed something different. So I went ahead and picked up the sleeves. And so the sleeves, you just go around and you pick them up, and then you just start knitting stockinette. So that was kind of a breath of fresh air after doing that twisted rib. And that's where I am so far. I still do need to do the neckline, which is also twisted rib. And I just have to decide if I want to do a regular neckline or if I wanted to do the folded collar option, which will be new for me. So I think I might. For the bind off, the pattern did suggest doing what is it called? It's a sewn bind off. I think it's, what is it called? Some kind of sewn bind off. And I just wasn't in the mind frame to do that. You know, most of the time when I'm knitting, my kids are running around. So I did, I think it's called Jenny's stretchy bind off. And I think it looks, I don't know if you can see it, but I think it looks pretty nice. Depending on my mood, I might try that other bind off. Tubular, that's what it is. I might try that tubular bind off for the sleeves just to see, you know, if I like it, but I'll probably just stick with what I know best. And I believe I said that this was a pattern by Petite Knit, just like my Sophie shawl. I believe that's all I wanted to say. Oh, I did want to say that once I saw that my gauge was super tight for the body and I tried it on and it's fitting pretty snugly, I decided that for the sleeves I wanted to go ahead and go up a needle size, and the gauge is actually so much better. I went up to size 7 and I honestly think it looks better. So I think next time I knit a sweater, I'm going to be a good girl and do what the pattern suggests. If I don't get gauge, I'll go up a needle size so that it looks nicer, or I'll knit the size larger so that I'm not terrified every time that I try it on. And when I tried this on with the sleeves, they fit great. My arms are a little bit meatier than other parts of my body, so I went ahead and went on up a needle size so that they'll fit nicely and won't be tight on my arms. Okay, and that is the Clove sweater by Rachel Kurihara. Hopefully I'll have this finished in the next few weeks. I would love to wear it around Christmas time. And that is all that I have to share with you today. I'm still a hot mess, y'all. So if you're here at about 30 minutes, thank you so much for sticking with me. This is only going to get better from here. Do stick around for Aiden's 15 minutes of stardom. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hey, Aiden, how are you?
I'm good.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
This is Aiden's segment that we're going to call Aiden's 15 minutes of stardom, because he told me when he was about 4 years old that one day he was going to be famous.
I actually have made some YouTube videos.
I will link them below if you're interested. He's hilarious.
I want to make more.
We'll make more.
Yeah.
All right, so today's segment is dad jokes. Okay? So what we want to do is each of us has written a dad joke, and we both think we're hilarious, and we want to know who's the funniest. So we're each going to tell our joke, and then we want you in the comments to vote on who you think is the funniest.
And please, we only need one person to tell us the reward that we get.
Oh, and if you have some type of award that you think each of us should earn.
Or like a house reward, please just one of you just type it in the comments.
So if I win, please tell me what I get, and if Aiden wins, please tell him what he should get.
We'll choose randomly out of the comments to see who's gonna choose.
All right, so we're each gonna tell our joke.
Okay.
I'm gonna go first. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So Aiden.
Yes.
Why did the police dog become captain of the police academy?
Why?
Because he kept barking orders. Get it? Barking orders.
Okay.
Okay, your turn.
Why can't a nose be 12 inches long?
Why not?
Because then it would be a foot.
Oh my goodness, Aiden! Oh, that was good. I might lose. All right.
Yours was good.
Yours was good too. Let us know in the comments who told the best dad joke. We know we're not dads, but we like dad jokes.
I'm going to be a future dad, but...
And that's it for Aiden's 15 minutes of stardom.
It's not exactly 15 minutes, but...
It works. See you later.